listeners, happy Friday to you. It is time again for another episode of Mental Breakthrough. And I'm so happy to have you here with me. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Zandy Evans. And here on the Mental Breakthrough show, for my first time listeners, we discuss breaking through those areas that cause us pain and working to unlock that growth within ourselves. Because we have to remember that our best selves comes from our willingness to learn and our willingness to grow. Now, every week we are talking through areas of mental health or relationship development, and we're just coming off of. And this week, I thought it'd be very important if we touched just a little bit on being able to belong. So, that feeling of belongingness and really understanding how to become better seen. But before we jump too far into today's topic, we are going to throw our shout outs to our sponsor, thanking them again for today's episode. So our shout out goes to Built for Mental Wellness, remembering if you are ready to start your therapy journey, go ahead and grab your free 15-minute consultation at www.builtformentalwellness.com. They specialize in areas of anxiety, depression, trauma, and relationship issues. And they also work with other areas as well. So if you're curious, just give them a call at 252-751-0243 or jump on the website and learn more about what are some of the areas where they can help you on your therapy journey. Okay, now for today's episode, we are talking about belonging. Now, belonging is this subjective feeling that I have a place and a space inside of my family or inside of this social group that helps me feel seen and connected with. Now, remembering belongingness is this fundamental human need because as humans, we are wired for connection. And if we think about some of the literature that's out there now, for example, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the need to belong, it actually comes in right after our basic need, where we're trying to meet food and safety. So the next thing that's coming is this idea of belonging, and it's coming right before we have things like our self-esteem or being able to self-actualize. And so I'm coming from the standpoint that belonging is a key part in how we're shaping our survival throughout history, across spans of time. We see that humans have thrived by being in groups because a lot of the times that meant that the more individuals within a group would mean that there were means of safety, means of warmth, food, or protection. So there was a sharing of resources. And the larger that the groups are, the more that you can allocate resources across a group. And so being alone could literally become life-threatening. And this evolutionary understanding is still very much interwoven into the way that we think about things now. For example, when we are feeling that we are rejected, our brain is processing that rejection the same as it would be processing physical pain that happens to you, because there's a specific part of our brain that responds to this level of being able to socialize and be a part of something larger than just self. And this is the reason that why when you're left out, it's not just that it feels bad, it physically hurts. And so therefore we form this belief of being able to belong or be in a group very early in our development. And possibly we do this even mentally in our minds, figuring out ways to sort and secure ways of connection for ourselves. Something as simple as, well, someone has the same color shirt that I have, or we're using the same language. And it could be very inconsequential cues, but they're cues that's happening, that's helping us to be able to figure out how are we going to be grouping ourselves so that we are in a space where we're not alone or physically feeling the pain of rejection. So part of today's episode is going to be talking about this idea of belonging. But before we go too far into that, I want to make sure that we're understanding that fitting in is not the same as belonging. And a lot of times when I'm working with individuals or couples, everyone's trying to figure out, okay, what is my role? Where do I fit? Where do I belong? And the word becomes used interchangeably, and it may not be something that can be utilized this way, because fitting in means that you are actually making a conscious change about yourself in order to be accepted within a role or a space. However, when you're talking about belonging, so truly being seen, it's about this overarching acceptance of who you are just as you are. And so we have to talk about, well, where does this idea of belonging truly fit within our relationships? And how do we gain that type of authentic acceptance on a deeper level? So today, that's what we'll talk about. We'll talk a little bit about those moments where disconnection happens, but also those spaces of authentic connection where we can truly cultivate a space where we belong. But for now, we're going to go ahead and jump into a break. But when we come back, we will dive more into this topic. So don't go anywhere. You're tuned in to Mental Breakthrough, where I'm your host, Sandy Evans. We'll be back after the commercial break. Are you suffering with overthinking habits, uncomfortable thoughts or feelings? And are your relationships struggling because of it? Talk today with Built for Mental Wellness. Built for Mental Wellness provides therapy online to individuals, couples, and families across the state of North Carolina. For more information, go to builtformentalwellness.com and sign up today because wellness is at your fingertips. Welcome back to Mental Breakthrough, where I'm your host, Sandy Evans, licensed marriage and family therapist practicing throughout the state of North Carolina. Right before the break, I introduced today's topic to you as we're trying to unpack belonging. And right before the break, I was letting you know that belonging and fitting in are two of the words in our language that we like to use interchangeably. However, it's something that is different. And today I wanted to make sure that we talked about what truly is belonging, because belonging is this idea that I am truly accepted the way that I am, and those that are around me truly accept me as the authentic and genuine person that I am. But there's a cost to you as the person when you feel that you are not in a space where you truly belong. And therefore, I want to talk about the cost of feeling disconnected, or no matter how hard you try, you just feel like you don't belong. And, you know, many people have had, even if it's not something that is a constant, where they are experiencing that feeling. But there's been times where everyone has had a moment where they looked around and they just thought to themselves, I really just feel like I don't belong where I am right now. And sometimes it can be really hard even to put words to what that feeling is. That primal feeling of being rejected. And on a base level, what it can look like sometimes is that you are the only you in the space who looks the way you do or behave as you do. Maybe even being part of a group, but still feeling like there's aspects of yourself that has to stay hidden, that won't be accepted. And overall, this just leaves you to be in a space where it's very uncomfortable, that you're trying to force yourself to fit in a space, but that may not be your space. And over time, it can start to diminish parts of yourself, and it feels very harmful. So what will happen is, even though I am surrounded by so many people, socially, for example, I still experience loneliness. And this idea of loneliness is very impactful because the way that we experience loneliness, let's take it a step further. It's about the fact that you're not feeling seen. And when I truly feel that I am not seen, that places me in a space of just one. And what will happen over time is that you start to try to overcompensate for those moments where you feel very alone or that loneliness kicks in, to the point where you may find yourself trying to overperform, trying to people please, while still underneath it all feeling that you are invisible, that people just are not truly seeing who you are. And this is why this idea of belonging is so powerful, because we have to disrupt the cycle of how we place a mask on ourselves in order to be able to operate in a space where we may not feel that we are truly given the grace to be who we are in our full authentic selves. And so what will happen over time is that you start to pull away from that thing, even though you're in the social situation, because there's some aspects of yourself that you still want to protect. And this pulls on you, this pulls on your health, this pulls on your well-being. And emotional and mental well-being is all over across the board that we're looking at this. The great part about any cycle is that we can interrupt cycles. We do not have to stay in a cycle that overall is not going to be a helpful cycle for us, because at the end of it, we end up feeling very lonely and disconnected or disengaged from everyone and everything. And in order to do this, we have to be able to better cultivate a space where we truly feel like we belong. It is something beautiful to see when you truly feel that you belong in the space where you are, and you feel safe enough to allow your voice to come across and to truly allow your full personality to show up. Not the parts that's just most flawless, but even the most real, messy parts that we have and hold within ourselves. Because we truly know that in the space that we are in, that someone's not going to just turn away from us. And so with this comes the understanding that we have to be safe. We have to feel safe in these environments where we want to belong. And that safety, it doesn't happen by happenstance. You have to be very intentional about what it is that you want to see come to fruition. And this means that we have to really be connected to our values. We have to know what is important to us so that it can be reflected in the groups that we choose to become part of. This is why when we think about belonging, let's put it in the context of a family right now. In your family, everybody in the family has a role: mother, daughter, brother, sister, husband, or some other label, right? We have how our family understands our role to be, but we also have how we understand our role to be in the space on how we accomplish those things within our family. And a lot of times, if we start to identify areas where there's a disconnect in the family, sometimes it may mean that the role that we have assumed, we haven't truly outlined what that looks like within our family, or the way that we want to show up within this role. We feel that the family or those around us is not accepting of the way that we're trying to carry out the role and carry that forward. And so, therefore, you start to feel lonely in it, because you'll notice that your role isn't the role that someone is constantly paying attention to or responding to in a way that you want. And so it leaves you in a place where you feel a bit uncertain. Sometimes one of the things that I notice that happens in families, you have one parent that is a little more of the nurturing type of parent in that role, and then you have another parent that assumes more of a protective role within the family. And so therefore, the issue that may start to happen is that the crossover where the kids don't necessarily respond to one parent that assumes more of a protective role the same way that they would the other parent that holds a more nurturing role, because they have a preference for what they want in that particular role or that space. So when this happens, it leaves room for someone to possibly feel left out or feel rejected if they're trying to be able to take on a different role and show different aspects of their personality. And so one of the big parts of being able to do this, especially in a family, is to not be so stringent to our roles that it leaves others in the family to feel left out, and not to really pick up all parts of their personality to be able to showcase that. You want to constantly make room for family members to be able to be involved in a way and in the level that they would like to be involved, and give them the space and opportunity to make those attempts. So ultimately, what happens is in our families, in these spaces, we have to learn how to be able to take a risk and showcase that vulnerability with one another. And there are simple ways to be able to do this. You can do this by just sitting down and having meals with one another, having conversations, talking about those inner parts of yourself that I want to do this role more with you. I want to take up more time with you, or more space in this area within our life, so that you're not just pigeonholed into one particular role, that you feel like your personality is bigger than the one role. And it doesn't have to be done in with every member of the family. You can pick who you want to be able to talk with. You move off to the side, ask them to have a one-on-one conversation, and you just talk about some of these things that you've noticed and the issue that you're feeling, that you feel maybe a little disconnected. You're feeling lonely. When we're out in family outings and groups, I still feel alone. I feel lonely when I see this thing happens where everyone else is grouped, but I feel that I'm to the side. I don't have the same connection. I don't see that I'm having the same connection, but I want to. I want you to make space to really be able to talk about that and to not only see it from only your perspective of belonging, but the other person's, how you fit, what they see, what they notice. Because keep in mind, you may be just fitting, and they may have some feedback for you on how to not just live on the edge, on the outskirts of the family as well. They may have a chance to talk to you about things as well that makes it a little more difficult to truly connect with you that you are unaware of. So the biggest part of this is, how do we really open up a better dialogue so that you can truly feel what you're feeling, so that we can start to walk towards a better sense of belonging. We are going to go ahead to a break, but when we come back, we'll get ready to wrap up our topic today on belonging. So don't go anywhere. You're tuned in to Mental Breakthrough, where I'm your host, Sandy Evans. We will be back after the commercial break. Here's your mental health tip of the week. Feeling like you belong starts with small moments of connection. That means sending a quick check-in message, sharing something meaningful with someone, or just simply showing appreciation. Belonging grows when we let ourselves be seen in small and consistent ways. Remember, you don't have to fit perfectly to belong, but you do have to show up as yourself. This has been your mental health tip of the week. For more tips, continue listening to the Mental Breakthrough Show.
I've been gone for too long, in a faraway land, trying to find my way in, searching for where I did belong, coming up with a plan, somewhere I can begin. Memories of my hometown keep crawling back in my head. My hometown, been around the world all this time, still couldn't match how we felt. I can't wait to get home. 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 Nothing else can compare. On my way, I'll be there. Sunshine like a heavenly oasis. I can feel the love from the familiar faces. The sound of my homeland. She calling, I'm all in. Been traveling the globe for a while and I had a good time, but memories of my hometown keep crawling back in my head. Been around the world all this time, still couldn't match how we felt. How it felt. I can't wait to get home. I can't wait to get home. I can't wait to get home.
Welcome back to Mental Breakthrough, and I'm your host, Zandy Evans. I hope you've been enjoying today's episode. If so, be sure that you like and follow my Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook pages at Mental Breakthrough Talk. As we get ready to close our topic on belonging, I want to just give you a few ways to make sure that you think about how to belong. So if you want to create a more secure sense of belonging, you are going to be having to make an effort, because it takes time to develop the interest with someone, to develop the connection, to have the conversation about the things that's important to you or your values. It takes some time, and it's more than surface level. And so the biggest part here is have patience. Do not feel like you're going to have to just rush through this process because you're ready to say, I want to have this connection. and it needs to happen now. Also, do not be surprised if you have to take that time up, that intentional time, even with people that you assume that you should already belong with. Be that family, be that within a relationship. It means that you have to take up the time to get to know the individual that you want to create more belonging with. And so please be patient with this and accept things that feel that they can continue to be built upon. And what I mean by this is that you are looking for areas where you feel similar. You're not just always shining a light on everything that is different, and especially within families, because most families, they have a preferred person or parent or individual within the family that the other person often leans into a little bit more. And if you always call attention upon another relationship in comparison with what you have and what you're trying to build, then you're always going to be a step behind in that respect. You're building your own thing, and that requires that someone has to get to know fully who you are and your authentic self, and you have to bring that to the table. Now, all the things that I'm telling you at this point would also help you to understand that our sense of belonging first starts within ourselves. And once we have a chance to do that and accept all of who we are without trying to sever any part of ourselves, then we can branch out so that we feel externally connected with someone else. So first and foremost, you're starting with yourself. You're going to work to identify, what do you like about yourself? What is your strength? And if you struggle to truly answer what you like about yourself, then you may fall into the boat where you're often trying to please other people and take on other habits that's truly not yours. Therefore, start with that self-belonging. Where do you truly belong? How compassionate you feel about yourself? What is your core values? And this helps you to feel belonging within yourself and start to truly have that extend outside of yourself. And the next part is really having this connection where you have to start to open up. You have to express some of the things that are vulnerable for you, allowing someone to see your personality and connect to you in a different way, where you get to have a laugh together. And especially for parents, right? Parents and children. Sometimes you can really struggle to figure out how you want to connect with a child, whether it's an adult or a minor child. But having that moment to sit down, have conversation, just spend time with them, one-on-one, playing card games or board games, taking up interest in something that your kid likes. Finding a way to be able to have a laugh with them is building a deeper connection, not just for them, but also for you to allow yourself to authentically come through and to be fluid in not only the parent, but fostering areas of likability or aspects of friendship while still holding down the ability to be parent. And therefore, you'll get a chance to align that space with value, either ones that you want to share within your group or ones that you're trying to shape within your family. And last but not least, understand that even though I've asked you to think about ways that you can connect by being able to express things vulnerably that's happening behind the scenes. And this means that you get to actually talk through what you're thinking. It's not always about feelings. Feelings help, but at least pull back a little bit so that you can share some of your thoughts. And it's a meeting of the minds with the people that you are trying to have that connection with. But be aware that there's always the possibility that when I go out and I try to do something that I've not always done, there is a risk that I hurt myself. So be on the lookout that rejection could happen, but embrace the idea that stumbling into rejection from time to time is a part of the journey, and it doesn't define who you are as a person, and it doesn't define your role within a space. It just means that you were riding a bike and you took a little bit of a tumble. But we get back up there and we keep going. Because if we do this with consistency, if we work to try to have a meeting of mind, we try to build upon trust, then we get to create a sense of belonging. And our nervous system becomes more regulated. when we consistently are engaging in something that's safe and that's repeated, that's building connection. So it takes time to get to belonging, but just start your first step, either within yourself or trying to extend outwardly if you're already very secure with you. That is it today for our show, guys. So thank you so much for listening. It is always great to have you on Friday afternoon. And I will be here again for you next week, Friday at noon. But for now, we're going to get ready to get out of here. Thank you again to our sponsor, Built for Mental Wellness. You also can jump onto mentalbreakthrough.org and grab some resources or catch up on missed episodes if you've missed any episodes of the Mental Breakthrough Show. And we are constantly looking to be able to do workshops and do outreach within the community. And so we also would love your support. And you can also donate on the website at mentalbreakthrough.org as we focus on mental and relational development and helping those in the community. Listeners, this part is for you. Definitely throw an A thank you and a shout out to my listeners, because without you, there is not a mental breakthrough. And I'm just so grateful that I get to have you here with me every week. So I'll see you again next Friday at noon. If you'd like to be a guest on the Mental Breakthrough Show, give me a call at 919-709-7294 or just go to the website mentalbreakthrough.org and click on advertising. So it has been a pleasure, but until next week, continue to be blessed and break your pain points with some breakthrough talk.